This is Learning Curves and Coffee, where we skip the perfection, spill the real, and talk parenting, teaching, and personal growth over a hot cup. I'm Ivory, a mother, edupreneur, and your caffeinated co-pilot through the meltdowns, meetings, and magical moments. Let's get into it. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are listening. I am Ivory, your podcast host, the founder of Embracing Neuro-Diversity, the coaching and consulting company, and the podcast. Let's start with the moment most parents know very well, because I want to jump right in. You're trying to leave the house. Shoes are missing. Someone suddenly needs a snack or water or to go to the bathroom. Can't find their backpack. Though it has been in the same place for the last 6 months. And then it happens. Your child has a meltdown. And if we're being honest, sometimes we do too. I know I certainly do. Not always outwardly. Sometimes it's internal. The deep sigh, the tension in your shoulders, the thought that runs through your mind. Why is this so hard? And so today we're going to talk about something that sits underneath so many of these moments: emotional regulation. Not just for kids, for us too. Because one of the things, or I should say, one of the biggest myths in parenting is that adults are supposed to be perfectly calm, perfectly patient, perfectly composed all the time. That's not reality. Emotional regulation isn't about never getting overwhelmed. You're going to get overwhelmed. It's okay. It's about learning how to come back from overwhelm. And when we learn how to do that ourselves, we give our children the most powerful lesson they could ever learn. I remember a moment with my son, Khalil, when he had his first meltdown, and it changed how I thought about emotional regulation. It was a full sensory meltdown, honey. When I tell you, I don't even know if I should get into the story because I don't want to belabor the point. But anyway, I took him to a dinosaur convention, and we were there. At the time, one of his special interests were dinosaurs. So I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity. It was fine in the beginning, but lots of children were there, and there were lines to be able to explore these different type of dinosaur statues and monuments and things of that nature. And at the ripe old age of, I believe, maybe 6 at the time, Khalil was not into standing in any line, and so I had to continue to tell him, you have to wait, you have to stand in line. Not to mention there was a lot of sensory overload happening in the space. So long story short, honey had a meltdown in the convention center. I had to pull him out. I had to pick him up and take him out. He was kicking and screaming the entire time, walking back to the car in complete embarrassment. And that was a long walk, honey. Not even metaphorically, literally going from the convention center back to the car was a long walk, and Khalil was having a meltdown the whole time. I was mortified. But I wanted to paint that picture of you to you to let you know that, first of all, you're not alone when it comes to these full meltdowns. And second, the lesson that I learned from that. My first instinct was to try to fix the situation quickly. Telling him to calm down or giving him a ultimatum of okay, we're going to go. I learned very quickly that those things don't work for Khalil. The more that I try to move him past the feeling, the more upset he became. So in that moment, I realized something important. He wasn't trying to give me a hard time. He was having a hard time. That is the shift. most of the time and there's a difference between a meltdown and a tantrum, which I talked about in old episodes back in, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. But when it's a meltdown, it is internal and it's not about you as a parent. It's that they're having a hard time. And that shift from seeing behavior as defiance to seeing it as distress changed how I responded as a parent. And honestly, it also changed how I responded to myself, truthfully. When we look at the research in developmental psychology, it shows that emotional regulation is not something children are born knowing how to do. Obviously, how could you? In fact, according to the studies from the Center of the Developing Child at Harvard, the ability to regulate emotions develops through a co-regulation with a caring parent. I'm going to say that again. The ability to regulate emotions develops through co-regulation with caring parents. Caring adults, I should say. Caring adults. That means kids learn how to calm their nervous system by watching us calm ours. Which means, and this is the humbling part, our emotional regulation becomes the model they practice from. I know, that feels like a lot of pressure. It's not intended to. The good news is that emotional regulation is a skill that you can learn and build. So, of course, I want to jump into the discovery, acceptance, and embracing framework to make this a little bit more clear. Start by noticing what triggers dysregulation for both you and your child. This is the discovery part. Is it the transitions? Is it the routine? Is it the loud environment? Is it hunger? Is it fatigue? Is it overstimulation? I know for Khalil, it's usually overstimulation or fatigue. You need to discover that for yourself and your child. For me, it's certainly fatigue. Certainly, when I'm tired, I'm not the best person, and I have a version of an adult meltdown. Sometimes what looks like misbehavior is actually the nervous system saying, I can't process this much input right now. Right? As adults, think about it. We've all had moments in our work where it's like, I can't do this right now. I can't take in any more information. This happens with our children too. Pay attention to patterns. Patterns tell stories. Patterns tell stories, okay? And then as we know what the patterns are, move into the acceptance piece. This step can be tough, accepting that emotional outbursts are a part of development. I know it feels uncomfortable. I know that it's a social taboo. I know it can feel threatening to some, but it is a part of the development process. And accepting that sometimes your child is going to lose control. Accepting that sometimes you might too. Okay? Accept that perfection is not the goal, connection is. I often tell Khalil, he hasn't had a meltdown in a long time. I was just talking to someone about that, and I'm so proud of him. It's been I want to say over 6 months, and I'm so proud. I want to say almost a year. I literally cannot remember the last time. But when he did, I would say like, it's okay. Are you okay? I'll say it gently, or sometimes I'll say nothing. Or if he wanted to be held or hugged, I'll do that too. So anyway, normalizing that unsavory behavior is a part of the process. Uncomfortable behavior is a part of the process. When we stop expecting constant calm, we create space to practice recovery instead. And that takes time. And we'll continue to unpack this over time. And then the embracing phase of this process. Embracing emotional regulation means building tools into everyday life. So you know that it may happen. There's a possibility it may happen. What can we do to prepare for it, to mitigate for it, to plan for it, just in case? Well, that's why it's important to know what the patterns are for you and your child. Not just in the middle of a meltdown, but before one starts. It means creating rhythms, language, and habits that help both you and your child recognize what's happening inside your bodies. Remember, I told you in previous episode, the body keeps the score. That's also connected to meltdowns. So let's talk about some practical strategies. You all know when I pause, I am drinking my coffee. Number one, a practical strategy to build emotional regulation skills at home. Name the emotion. Children can regulate feelings that they cannot identify. So simple phrases like, I see you're frustrated. That felt really disappointing. Your body looks overwhelmed right now. Naming emotions activates parts of the brain that can help the stress response. And honestly, adults benefit from this too. Sometimes just saying, I'm overwhelmed right now, changes how you handle a moment. Number two, slow the moment down. When emotions run high, everyone speeds up. We all get anxious. We want to rush through the moment. Slow the moment down. Sometimes our voices get louder or quicker. Breathe. Breathe. Regulation requires slowing down. It requires breath. It requires lowering your voice instead of raising it. I know the inclination is to do the opposite. It's to yell. It's to rush through the process. But slow down. Pause before responding. Sometimes, if you need to, walk out the room. Your calm becomes the signal that the situation is safe, that you're safe, your child is safe. Number three, create a calm down routine. Think of this as a reset button. For some families, it's deep breathing. For others, it's stepping away to get a quiet space. Some kids regulate through movement, jumping, stretching, pacing. Some like to go into a quiet, dimly lit space. There is no one right method. The goal is to help the nervous system settle so thinking can become a thing again, so we can turn our brains back on, right? If you think about it as a phone that's not acting right, reset the system, right? A computer that needs a reboot. Similarly, our bodies and our mind need the same thing for emotional regulation. Number four, model what recovery looks like. Remember, I said your child learns most about emotional regulation through the adults in their lives. That's why this one is so powerful. If you lose your patience, and you will sometimes at some point, and that's okay. Let your child see what repair looks like. It's okay to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I raised my voice. I was feeling overwhelmed. Let's try that again. It's okay to say that and immediately let go of the grief. I'm sorry I yelled. I'll tell that to Khalil when I raise I'm sorry. I'm sorry I yelled. That teaches kids that mistakes don't end relationships. They strengthen them with repair. And last, number five, build your emotional vocabulary. That is essential. Sometimes we can't name what we feel because we don't know what to call it. And so the more words children have for their feelings, the more control they gain over them. Not just mad or sad, frustrated, disappointed, nervous, overstimulated, Even our children who are semi or nonverbal, you can speak the language out loud to them too. In fact, you should. Expanding emotional vocabulary helps children understand their inner world. One of the most important things I've learned as a parent is that emotional regulation is not something we teach one time for again, and we get multiple opportunities to do that, right? Some days you'll handle a situation beautifully and you're so proud of yourself and you pat yourself on the back. And then there are other days you'll think, well, that could have gone better. And so take inventory of that. Go into that discovery phase and look at the patterns that led to that. It's okay. That's it's just data to improve upon. Because the goal is not raising children who never experience big emotions. They're human beings. You want them to experience big emotions. You're a human being. You should experience big emotions. The goal is to raise children who learn how to navigate those emotions. And you teach them to do that by modeling it yourself. So, as I close out this week's podcast, here's something I want you to remember the next time your emotions run high. A meltdown is not failure, it's information. It's your child's nervous system asking for support. It's something, or I should say, it's sometimes it's your nervous system asking for the same thing. You need support too. When we slow down, connect, and model regulation over ourselves, we give our children a lifelong skill, an invaluable skill actually. Not just how to calm down, but how to understand themselves. So, as always, I want to thank you all for joining me for another episode of Learning Curves and Coffee. Take a breath. You and your child are both learning, and that's exactly how it's supposed to be. So until next time, take care of yourself. Bye. This is Learning Curves and Coffee.